Morning. Well, you know, my habit in the morning is to get up and, read a section of the Bible and do a little something that I'm grateful for in the day, plan my day. And I was doing this on the road in River Falls, Wisconsin. I was there telling America's story, and I went to get something from the car and came back, and there was a gal sitting outside smoking a cig. And so I joined her, and we struck up a conversation. And this is what I found out. They're taking their daughter to look at local colleges, and her husband works in the trades. I don't know how we got on this topic. People will sometimes just talk, right? Well, her husband had been injured as a younger man and got into the trades. In this case, he was a carpenter. I remember now. She was talking about what her daughter would major in, and it was in the veterinary world. And I said, that's kind of tough on the hands, because it is. And then she talked about her husband, who also was struggling with these things, because he's a carpenter. And he doesn't like his job. He's okay at the job, but the bosses are just, well, they're not good bosses, right? They're just demanding. They hear his plight, but they don't seem to care about his plight. And I said, oh yeah, I know about that. And then I said, okay, I'm going to show you something. And I drew this sigmoid curve. You've seen me do it before. And I showed this to her, and I said, listen, this is life. And your husband is right here, isn't he? He's running out of steam. He sees that every year it gets a little bit tougher, and he doesn't know what to do. And I said, and the bosses, they don't really care, do they? And she says, no. I said, well, if they don't care, they're not going to do anything. They're just going to keep using him up until he's used up. And they're going to push that button called guilt. Oh, we really need you to work, though. You said you could. And then they're going to use approval. Man, you did a really nice job. Now, next week, we need you to do this because you're such a good worker. And they're just going to push those buttons, because those are the buttons they need to push to get you to do the job. To them, it's transactional. I said, is his name Matt? And she said, no. And I pointed to a mat on the rug when you walk under the carpet. Well, they're sure treating him like one. And when they're done, he'll be done. I do in other words, they're getting him to eat all their vegetables. I'll talk about that in a bit later. And I said, so the secret is to find out what that next sigmoid curve is, right? What's the next thing going to be? Is it possible that there's a young guy, just getting out of school, that he could train up, and that kid would do all the labor and he would do all the teaching, and together they could do something together that would give more of a future and more enjoyment for your husband. And this is where I found a common thing that I make a mistake from. She was, well, I gotta go. Yeah, she didn't ask. She didn't ask. Unasked for advice. Nobody really wants it. But you might know somebody like this. You might know somebody who is in this spot. I'm going to say about a third of people are right in that spot. One thing's coming to an end, and they're trying to figure out what the next thing is going to be. I have a significance master class. That's the name of it, the significance master class, specifically designed to help people figure out what's next and to look forward to it and be excited about it. Very doable, fun. It's all about you. But, the right person has to be interested. I will say this. I do the STORY acronym, let me see now, STORY, okay. Struggle, team, odyssey, realize. That's where this guy's at. He's realizing things are going to come to an end. And yearn, okay. Yearning for something better, something different, yearning. And that comes from dreaming. And that comes from prayer and contemplation. God, what am I really, really, really made to do? And if you hang out in that space, something will start to materialize. It may not make sense. It may seem like, it's impossible. Who would want a guy who tells stories? I mean, that's a ridiculous thing. But if you push towards that, you'll find that there will be an answer to it. You just got to work your way through the process. So that's what I got for today. Thank you for joining me in the shop. I appreciate your comments. I appreciate you subscribing. Now, if you're on YouTube, which is a massive thing, of course, there's a video right there that you can watch. It's also on the other platforms, and you don't get that video. But you do get my thanks. Thanks for watching. God bless.